Let's go through these squat movements. There are different variations, but this is an exercise that we want to pay a lot of attention to and to do this with a lot of care, because perhaps is the one of the top exercises that you can do that is going to work a lot of the strength of your whole body, especially legs and core. The main version of the barbell squats, so remember that here we're using barbells, so we can work with the whole functionality and the whole stabilization of the body as well, so it's a much more complex exercise. So the main version of the barbell squat is called a back squat. Back squat means that you put the barbell on your back. So if I have a barbell here with a couple of, a few plates to give some weight, I'm gonna go under the bar, take the bar off the rack, and step back, and from here I'm going to squat to as much as my range of motion allows. So this is more or less what the squat looks like. A couple of things to take into consideration. One, I'm squatting to my full range of motion. Maybe my range of motion doesn't go all the way down. Maybe it goes until here. If it goes until here, that's where I'm going to work. And if let me show you something here. If I squat down with the bar and I see that my heels start to lift up after this position, so that means that I'm going to squat all the way before that. So my heels never lift up. My heels they need to be on the floor. So this will be my max range of motion for now. The more you practice this exercise, the more your range of motion will also increase. So that is number one. Number two is the position of my back. I want to make sure that my back is straight at all times. So let me show you, let me give you an example. What I want to make sure is that my back is straight. So if you look from the side, what I want is my back to be holding its integrity the entire time. What you will see that could be a common mistake is when you are at the bottom here and the back rounds like this. You don't want your back round like this, because then it gets too much tension on your lower back. So use a weight that allows you to have your back straight all the way up and down. Next point of consideration is your breathing. So for squat, breathing is very important because it helps the whole biomechanic of the body. So what you do is that when you come down on the squat is when you inhale the air. So here you're inhaling, and when you are pushing your body up is when you exhale the air. Or you can do as if you're having a very heavy squat, then you can inhale on top, hold, do your whole squat, and exhale on the top. This helps if you're doing a squat that is very heavy. So if you are someone who is trained with a squat and a lot of experience already, you're going to put a lot of weights. This is a way of breathing that creates more pressure on your rib cage and guarantees the stability of your spine in case your squat is very heavy. Now we have a couple of options. We have a way of scaling down this squat. If my range of motion is still not all the way to the ground, or if this is feeling a little heavy, this is when I can use a bench like this. So with a bench like this, my version of squat will be, let me actually bring this bench here to show you what you would do in your gym. So I'm going to bring this closer. This is probably where it's going to go. And my main practice here will be to squat all the way down to a seated position. From here I can sit and stand. So now you see that my range of motion is much smaller. I'm not going all the way to the floor. And I am still making a lot of effort to lift myself off the bench. Once I get practice on this, I go to the next level that is not really sitting on the bench, but just touching the bench with my butt and then standing up. So here, I am improving my squat strength with a lower range of motion. Once I am good with that, and I want to increase my range of motion further, then I can do two things. Either I use a bench that is lower so that I can go a little bit further down when I squat, or I can step on top of two plates. So for example, let me show you this. If I have this plate over here, and this plate over here, and I am squatting on top of them, now my feet are lifted, are close to the bench. So this is increasing the range of motion that it takes me to just touch the bench. You get the idea? And lastly, another version of squat for the variation of the exercise. If you have done back squat for months already and want a different variation, you can do a front squat. A front squat is when you put the bar on the front of your body, so on top of your collarbones. It's a harder version of squat. It feels heavier as well. It uses more your quads than your glutes, and it helps you keep your body straight up. So the way that you do this is that you place the bar on your collarbones, you raise your elbows, and with your feet more or less shoulder width apart, you do the very same movement. And this is the squat movement. If you're doing a squat at home, then we went over the main options of the squat home versions a few weeks ago when we were finishing the inner monastery process. Remember, so you have one of them is a split squat that you can do with an elevated foot. So you can have a bench behind you, have one foot elevated, and then squat all the way down and all the way up. And if you have dumbbells here to hold, you can increase the resistance of this movement by holding a little bit of weight. This is one of the versions. You can also have the archer squat. That is the side to side squat that we have done before. That you go all the way to one side, and you lift, and here you're adding more weight to one side of your leg. And lastly, you can have the pistol squat. That is the advanced version that we also did a couple of weeks ago. If you want the detailed demonstration of this exercise, you can go to that week. But the pistol squat is the one that is squat on only one foot, and then you have 100% of your weight on one leg. So these are a couple of versions that you can work on the same type of movement if you're doing home workouts.